Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Smoothie with Sharan. I was trying so hard to stop myself from drinking the smoothie so that you all can see that we're having a smoothie. But welcome to Smoothie with Sharan. So I just want to tell you what is Smoothie with Sharan. Smoothies with Sharan is where we actually interview people who are heroes in their own ways, and inspire us that if they can do it, so can we. So let me start with Sharan. Sharan is social enterprise. It's an initiative started by Dr. Nandita Shah, who is a pretty unique doctor, because when you go to doctors, they generally prescribe you medicines, but she's a doctor who prescribes you food. And I personally had severe acidity, and my acidity disappeared after I did what she told me to do. And in about 7 months, in about 8 months, I lost 17 kilos of weight. And that was 8 years ago. And my weight, fluctuates from 1 or 2 kilos here and there. And I've been able to maintain it beautifully. And we have delicious food and we are enjoying it. I have a 21-year-old daughter. We share our clothes. She hates it. My husband's cholesterol tablets have stopped. My parents' diabetes and blood pressure tablets have stopped. So Dr. Nandita is also the receiver of the Nari Shakti Puraskar, which is the highest award for women in our country. And because of the work that she's doing, because lots and lots of people have been able to reverse or prevent diseases simply by a change of diet. So I just would like to know that today's talk is focused, since October is Cancer Awareness Month, and today's talk is focused on this dreaded disease that most of us, actually, I would say nearly all of us, are really, really scared of. Without much ado, let's start today's session. And it's a very, very important session. So I would like to first start by inviting Jayashree. Jayashree is really an outstanding woman. It was at the age of 47 that her life, everything was going normal. And then her life changed when she visited the doctor. And she actually had a relapse after 9 months. And that's when she decided that, well, obviously the normal treatment doesn't work. So we need to do something else. So please allow me to invite Jayashree. Jayashree, can ask you to, yes. Right. Hi, Jayashree, how are you doing?
Yes. Hi, Rena. Good
Hi,
evening.
Jayashree. Good evening.
Hello, everybody. Smoothie with Sharan. I'm having
Yes,
my yummy smoothie.
Modi, cheers to you too. Thank
Smoothie,
you. Thank
cheers.
you. So Jayashree, how many years has it been since you have been a cancer thriver, I would say? Not a survivor, but a thriver. How many
I think it's more than 13 years now, Rena.
years? Yes. And how are you doing in these 13 years? Means 13 years is a long time. You got your
Yes.
relapse 9 months.
Yes. When
It's been
it was
13 years now.
2008, it relapsed. Like, no, 2008 and 2009. Then, I mean, 7, 8, 9, I was going through my cancer treatment and cancer and all the relapses. Then I think I changed my diet and went on a whole plant. I mean, then it just, I looked at it differently. I started looking at it differently, and after that, I'm doing really well.
Really well. Lot
Mm.
of energy.
Of course,
Yeah.
lots of energy,
Lot of less
loads of. I think
loads
I
of
look more, I feel more energetic than what I was in my 40s um, and 30s, because
wow.
by the time I was late 40, I was diagnosed with cancer, and
Right.
I think my energy level is really pretty high.
Okay. And what kind of cancer did you get?
So mine was, third stage ovarian cancer, which had relapsed and which had metastasis. And
Mhm.
so when it relapsed, also it relapsed in the peritoneum cavity of.
Okay. And why did you
So
go to get yourself tested? Was there anything that you went through that made you want to test?
see, the normally I finished my treatments around about Feb March, and then you're supposed to go for your regular 3 months checkup. At least that's how the protocol was, and then you also do it very diligently because you don't want to, you fear the relapse. And so
Mm.
each time I would go for a checkup, I would have my heart beating, tug, 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 tug. And so in one of those checkups in the morning, it was in October month, the same thing. I just went for my normal checkup. Of course, hoping to see everything fine, but it had gone up.
Gone up.
So that's when I realized, oh, it's again.
Income. Yeah.
So I did go to my doctor, and he just said, okay, we'll nip it in the bud, kind of thing. And so that was it. So that again, it started all that
Yeah.
protocol of
But
treatment.
the first time when you went for your checkup, why did you go the first time? I mean, did you have any pain? Did you have any symptoms?
So the first time it was in 2006, uh, mid six and seven, when I used to really feel sick, like I had bloating in the stomach, low energy, like even the steps in my within my house, if I had to climb,
Okay.
I would pant, and I didn't have no clue what it was, and I did go for checkups. I kept going to my regular doctor, and she said it may be some peptic ulcer, or she said it might be something to
Okay, so
do with.
suddenly the body kind of started giving up. I mean,
Yes.
started
No,
it,
I think it was slowly giving up. I ignored it.
ignored it.
Ignored
Oh,
it.
okay. And
With low
that,
energy and all that.
yeah.
But
But
I didn't diagnose it. Didn't I never felt it would be something to do with my, I mean, ovary or uterus, things like that, because otherwise I was periods were regular. I was
yeah,
okay
right.
and all that. So even my doctor didn't suspect. I
Yeah.
mean, she never told me go to a gynaec. And I
Correct.
hate going to doctors, and I hate going to
Of
gynaecs.
course.
I,
Yeah, I
I,
know. None
I
of us.
really don't like to be checked up.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, my general physician is saying nothing to worry. So
Okay. All right. So you were 47 now. That's not too old, no?
yes,
Yeah. So I can imagine. In fact, let me invite our next guest, who even was much, much more younger. No, much more younger, um, and I know Dr. Nandita was telling us the other day. Remember that really she's seeing patients much, much younger now.
younger, true.
Yeah, and cancer, though she was telling us, is unfortunately quite a few patients. So age, I think,
No longer is.
no longer is an criteria of us getting any kind of disease, let alone cancer. So please allow me to introduce Upasana, who is our next guest on the show, and she is also somebody who had has gone through this kind of a, I don't know, disease. I think disease is a dis-ease, right? Where you're not
Yes,
at ease. So
disease.
yeah,
Body is not at it. It loses its
body is not
harmony and balance.
absolutely.
True, true.
So Upasana, may I request you to start your video and unmute yourself, and let's yeah, okay. Hi, Upasana.
Hi, Reena. Hi, Jayashree.
Hi, Upasana.
So, so Upasana, you were, I think,
8. Yeah,
28,
28.
28, right? And what prompted you to go and get a checkup? And there were lumps in the breast,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So, what prompted you to kind of go? I mean, 28 is last thing is you want to go and get a medical checkup, right?
So, yeah, I didn't think that I would ever have any issue. And I used to be a cabin crew. I used to fly for international airlines for a very long time. And at that time, we had to get regular checkups done every year, but not breast checkups. We had to just do blood tests and things like that. But because I was a cabin crew, we also used to get, in good hospitals, you could go and get a lot of medical treatment for a reduced price or discounts or free. So
Mhm.
there was this one of the best hospitals somewhere in the world where, we were told, listen, they are very good, and let's just go for a general checkup. So the insurance of our airline used to not cover up the general checkup. So I said, okay, how do I get this for free? So I just said, I went to the doctor, general physician. I said, hey, I get a lot of breast tenderness and heaviness around my period time. So, is there any, that was my excuse to get a full checkup done eventually.
But you were experiencing that.
I was,
Yes,
which
yes.
was completely ignored.
I mean, I completely ignored. You never thought that it probably thought it's just a part of getting your periods. But was that suddenly it started, or were you having that from a long, I mean, a much longer?
Yeah, it was from ever since I can remember. Like maybe I got my periods very early, and as I look back now, I realized that there were so many things I was living with without thinking of it as a problem. I had chronic constipation. I literally went to the loo thrice a week sometimes.
Oh, okay, okay, all
I
right.
had chronic bronchitis, which was told that it was in my head that it was because I'm flying, I'm going from one place to another, I'm not in the same place with the weather. We just end up blaming the weather when you get sick.
Yeah, true, true.
True,
Yeah, and
true.
you just kind of, yeah, because health is always not a priority, no, at that age.
Never.
Okay. So, all
Yeah.
right, then you went to the doctor and he,
And yeah, the first thing was they said, okay, ultrasound. They did a pap smear, ultrasound. And as she was doing the breast ultrasound, I could feel her just, like searching again and again. I said, okay, this one has found something. So
right.
yeah, that kind of triggered it. And I very vividly remember this because I was asked to leave, go and change up, clean up, change and leave. And the specialist who does ultrasound came running behind me to tell me, you better get this lump checked. There is a lump. It looks dangerous to me.
Ooh, okay, okay.
So that played on my mind. And immediately I came back to India and got the checkup done. And they did a biopsy. And even the doctor here said, okay, let's get it removed. It looks abnormal. So it was a 2 centimeter lump that was on the left breast, which I had to get a lumpectomy surgery and get it removed. After it was removed, it was sent for a biopsy again. The results came out with a condition called DCIS, ductal carcinoma in stew. So too many words. We didn't even know. I remember my mother and I were then, we thought it's all clear. So the doctor there said carcinoma, and I'm like, oh, carcinoma means cancer.
Cancer, right, right.
And the strange part is that there was so much cancer in the family already. So we had my mom's elder sister suffer, and through ovarian cancer, and she passed away very early. And more in the family, her father, younger sister. So like the first reaction was my mother looked at me and said, oh God, not you now. That's how much I feel we had kind of normalized it. Of course, such a big shock, right? Imagine, I mean, I think my mother went through worse than I did for sure.
Yes,
So
right. And even for you, I mean,
yeah,
only 28 and you're like in the midst of your life buzzing, and then suddenly this break
no,
comes.
I think we didn't allow it to, like, it didn't sink in for a very, like, we didn't, and I don't think I ever let it sink in until the whole food plant-based happened to me. We didn't let it sink in. So I think that's what happened now that I look back. And so it was that, and I had to go to the doctor, and they told me that that was my first visit to an oncologist. I really didn't know what oncologist meant, so I'm like, oh, cancer specialist. And and she said, nothing to worry, you can take tamoxifen, which is a estrogen blocker. She said, please don't Google it, don't do anything, don't Google it. Just that's something, that's an option. You can take that. That's for 5 years. You take it, it'll block all your estrogen. And I mean, I didn't even know what an oncologist meant at that time, but I knew that blocking my estrogen means, then the first thought came to me, isn't estrogen a female hormone? Isn't it important for our growth and whatever? How can I just block that? That's not normal.
Right. Okay. So, earlier we would rarely hear somebody having cancer. Cheers to you.
Cheers to all of us to be here. Yeah.
So earlier we would hear rarely anybody, having cancer. And now it's like, so like I just went to the parlor yesterday, and my parlor lady was saying her mother's got cancer, and it's become so common now, so common. And it's actually, and she was telling me, I went to Tata and there was I mean, there's so many people. It's kind of very rampant now. So, but back then, or even however rampant it is, I think once you know you got it, because you'll always feel everybody else, and it can never happen to you, right? Like, so what was your first, Jayashree, I'd like to ask you first, what was your first reaction when you first found out?
For me, actually, I was sick almost for the whole year. Like, I was going to the doctor so often. I was a person who never went to a doctor except for my deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
And, and the doctor was really not able to figure out what's happening to me. She sent me to a gastro. He said, your iron is low. You take some tablets. Your hemoglobin is low. So I can do anything. I mean, if I have to do more any of those further tests, you need to increase that. So you go and come back. And he said, you are stressed out. So I said, okay. And I waited for that to increase. And so in the meantime, the Times of India had an article one morning as I was reading the paper. There was a column on ovarian cancer. I mean, there was a column written cancer and ovarian cancer and all the side effects and everything, blah, blah. It was there for almost one huge column. So when I read that, something told me, oh God, I've got all these, whatever they written, the side effects, all of it. I've got all of it. And my doctor has overlooked it. Maybe I have got this now.
Oh.
So I rushed to her in the evening with whatever I've read, and I went and told her, see, this is what it is. So maybe I should go to a gynec or something I should do. So she told me, okay, do a sonography and we'll check. And then she also told me that whatever you read in the paper doesn't mean you'll have. You are so busy, so active, you go to work, you don't lie in bed and say you're sick. So I don't think all that would not be, definitely.
Okay.
So I said, okay. Then I was also a little thing.
Mm.
But deep down, somewhere, I had that
Feeling.
So anyway, so I went to do the sonography in the morning. And there the sonography doctor and the technician said, after finishing the sonography, he said, madam, do one test, one blood test. He didn't tell me what is the thing, one blood test. So I said, okay, I'll do the blood test. I didn't know what was that blood test or what it was. And then when I got the sonography report, it was, I mean, of course, they don't say it is because it's a tumor and you have to check it. So I went to a gynec with that, hoping that it's just a removal of the uterus or ovary and nothing more than that, because the report, nothing they write. And the gynec tested me and she said, yes, it might not be malignant, don't worry. We will open it and we will check. And if it is, I'll definitely have an onco. So but I didn't really feel good. I went to the hospital, that particular hospital. My husband said, it's okay. She's a very good gynae. And she told me things like laparoscopy. And now that as a student, I have worked in cancer hospitals as a counselor and all. So I said, laparoscopy is not something you must do for ovarian, even if it is a uterus or ovarian cancer, it's not safe. But she said, no. And I kept asking her. She said, no, we will do some insertion, we'll check it. And whole lot of medical terms which just went above my head. And she said, anyway, you book your room, we'll do a CT scan. And after that, we will do whatever is needed to be done.
Yeah. So, but what were your feelings? Like, you're kind of coming.
So in all that, I felt really miserable. I felt so anxious and so stressed because I didn't know what is going to come up for me.
Right.
And whether I was doing the right thing. And
Yeah.
I was so troubled.
Yeah.
And I was so confused. There's nobody to discuss, nobody to talk. And so much of crying when I went to my office. Then my boss said, don't worry, it cannot be anything like that. And
so it's like a dark unknown.
Yes.
territory that suddenly you are kind of
Yes, I'm
pushed
faced
into.
with, and I'm also deep down praying, oh God, it should not be malignant, it should not be cancer. It can be anything else, but not.
Yeah. What about you, Upasana, when you were told, like, what were your feelings? Like,
Like I said, I don't think I believed it. There was my initial thing, because it was stage 0. So, I mean, I first didn't expect that to come out at all. There was clearly not in my
yeah,
thoughts at
yeah,
all.
absolutely. So you kind of
And
went into denial, kind of.
yeah, I mean, it didn't even, like, I didn't feel like, I felt like this is nothing. I mean, this is not, I just
Okay.
shoved it off, kind
Oh,
of shunned it off, didn't want to talk about it. It didn't even come like, oh, come on, this is nothing. That's how it was for me. And now
okay.
that I look back, I feel it was just a denial.
Right, right.
Hmm.
So, what got your socks up to look for an alternative was when that steroid was prescribed, right? Because you didn't want to have that for the next 5 years, right? Where you said you didn't want the estrogen, or basically not. It's like playing with the body, right? I mean, you're putting chemicals and disturbing the natural system of the body. So, what did you discover? How did you discover the alternative way, or how did you reach to a conclusion that okay, I'm not going to take this because everybody's, I mean, the doctor is telling me, and doctor is somebody, of course, they know much better than us, but you still decided to go another path. What gave you that strength, or how did you find it, and what gave you the strength?
Yeah, so like I said, I was flying at that time, and I decided just not to, meet any doctors for some time. I went back, continued flying, and there was just a lot of like questioning, but on a very subconscious level. I didn't realize that was happening. And now that I, read about other things, and I understand how you attract what you really want. So at
Yeah.
some level, I was really trying to look for answers. Um, uh, I didn't, for the first 1 or 2 months, I didn't realize I was looking for answers, but I think I was.
Yes.
And that's why I think I found, and I was gifted a book, which, so it was such a beautiful journey. It was a book about label reading, and about how our food is not. It was by Dr. Mark Hyman. He's a functional medicine doctor. So it was, what should I eat, or something, WTF, what should I eat. And my friend gave it to me because she thought I love to cook. So she thought it was to do with recipes and food, and she picked it up off the shelf and gave it to me. I just started reading it, and one thing led to another. I felt like, okay, this is so everything we eat is very poisonous.
Hmm.
And that's what, and I love food a lot. I really love food, and it gives me immense joy to cook it, to make it, to go everywhere. And that was one of my main things as a crew. I
Yes.
used to request for countries where flights to countries where I could try and eat everything and anything.
Yeah.
So I ate all kinds of meat, but I also was somebody who ate vegetables.
Huh.
So if I look at my older food photos or what I cooked, there was always vegetables. I started my day with a lot of fruits and yogurt and and a lot of vegetables and a lot of meat and a lot of all kinds of meat. It's very
Yeah.
adventurous with food.
Hmm.
And I started reading that, bothered me quite a bit. I started, just one thing led to another, and I came across China study, and I read that.
Mhm.
And that's it. That's it. There was like, in a week's time,
Hmm.
from meat eating, dairy eating, oil, everything, it was almost to whole food plant based. And
Wow.
this was because I like cooking quite a bit. So I, tried, I felt, and I love cooking new dishes, new cuisines. So it wasn't a challenge because I was living alone. So
Huh.
I didn't have a family to please through food, or
Correct.
to have an approval of. So it became
Right.
very easy because I was only cooking for myself. The only challenge was I was a crew. So I was never at home.
Traveling. Right.
So
Right.
at
Correct.
least 15 days in a month, I was not in my home. So
Hmm.
but that one book led to another book, led to another book, and few months down the line, I found Dr. Nandita Shah, and I got glued to all the content of Sharan, and I would watch it on repeat all the time, like all her videos and YouTube and
Right.
everything. And I just, that's how it started.
That's how it started. And when you started making these changes, how did your body feel?
Yeah.
Did you feel the difference?
Yeah, immediately. So I
Yeah.
used to wake up with severe phlegm and cough, and I'd spend at least 10-15 minutes in the toilet just taking that phlegm off, kind of thing.
Right.
And it was my norm, of course. And I spoke about the constipation earlier, which was really bad. And I really didn't think I was constipated as a kid. I mean, my family has told me
normal, natural.
natural.
Yeah.
Like I never even thought that it's important to really get up and go. That wasn't important. And that just changed in 3 or 4 days. I started seeing, like, I had to go to the toilet every day as soon as I woke up. And I said, what's happening to me?
Exactly. Right. Right.
And, in a week's time, that thing had gone, that phlegm. I really don't know how long, because I wasn't expecting any change in that area.
Right.
So I don't know, until a friend of mine said, you're not coughing, you don't have that morning thing. And I'm like, it's not there. So that went away. And then, slowly, I can tell you, in every aspect of my mental, physical, spiritual, everything has seen a change. Everything. I mean, I can't list it down. I feel in everything, to an entire career change.
Absolutely. We're going to come to that. But before that, I want to ask Jayashree. Jayashree, when you obviously you had a relapse, and obviously you realized that this is it's not working, because if it was working, it wouldn't have come back again. But then as Upasana said, you just ask and you kind of get. I think that's something similar which happened to you as well, isn't it?
Yes, true. Because I was really, really sick. Because the second time also, the doctor puts you through the same same thing, the same thing, surgery, then chemo.
Yeah.
And somewhere I said, no, I don't think my body can really take this now.
Right.
And I said, can I find something alternatives? Can I find something different? And I was so sick and, rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I had no clue what I could do, because I've done everything I thought. Because this all what my doctor said, and I had no clue about food and diet would help. And because when you do chemo and all that, they tell you no raw food.
Right.
So it's you are scared also, and your immunity is so low. So then my friend just visited me casually one afternoon, and she gave me this book, Power Within You. I mean, I was not in any mood to read a book, and the book didn't even look as if, it was all a very old book with no cover. I didn't know who's the author, nothing. It never really motivated to me read. I was so sick. But since she said, no, read it, it will help you. Have you read it? No. You read it. And I don't know now, if I look back, it was some divine intervention. I really do not know, because she also doesn't remember doing that thing. And after 2 days, she again rang me up. I was so sick that day, and I happened to read the book. And so that's when it changed, everything changed for me.
Wow.
Because the author said, I ate raw food and I healed my uterine cancer. I said, oh, raw food, let me try it also. Then, suddenly that book gave me one hope, like, reading it and seeing that she's doing well, she's recovered, she's written books, and she's running here. I mean, she's doing workshops. So I wanted to learn about her more, then went to the net and, Googled about whole plant-based food. I mean, raw food, not even, I didn't know whole plant-based food or not.
At that
Raw
time,
food.
right. So you went immediately raw?
So I was so sick. So when I read it, I said, let me eat carrot. That's the only vegetable in my house that day. So till then, I just couldn't eat anything because of that surgery and the chemo, which I had already taken for my second when it relapsed. So I had lots of mouth ulcers, and I had lots of, constipation, and I was so sick. And when I ring up my doctor and tell her my state, my chemotherapist would give me a medicine to, for the side effects, and it would worsen. So I
Right.
said, there's no point in me rigging, because that was the first time I faced the same thing, and second time. So I said, now what to do? And I just couldn't eat, full of mouth ulcers. So actually, I noticed I could chew the carrot and eat it, and nothing was happening to my mouth in spite of the
The ulcers. Huh.
ulcers.
Okay. Okay.
So
Wow.
I said, oh, there is something in it. At least I'm eating some. And the next day when I got up, I felt better in my mouth.
Oh, just by the carrots, huh?
Just by eating that juice from the carrot. I actually, my husband said, you're imagining. I said, no, I'm really feeling good.
Right.
and
Right.
and he said, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. You should not be eating raw. But anyway, then came across Nandita's. I mean, then Sharan website was there, but it was not. It was there, so I could read something. And Dr. Nandita had put a lot of resource and books were there, and there was
Right.
a movie coming up, Forks Over Knives, which was going to be shown, or something about that movie, which I'm not very sure. So then, oh, that was much later. I saw it, so I started reading and learning more. But I
Right.
didn't know anything much. I kept eating some raw food.
Okay. Just
Was,
increased a little bit of raw,
uh,
and that
uh,
also made change.
yes, like I started having green juices, not
Right.
smoothie, but lot of greens, and then blending it.
Yeah.
Like my acupressurist told me, have green juice. It will be. Then by
Right.
then slowly I started reading and understanding about this more
Right.
and more.
Yeah. It's amazing how a book can change your direction to life, right? It's
So
amazing. So
that book became an anchor to me.
yeah.
I said, okay, yaar, I need to work on so many other things other than many other things, and I know I'm going to get to where I'm going to become healthy, because the book really opened up my. It
Right.
opened up. He said, this is not the way I should be living.
Living. Correct.
I
Right.
should, change the way I think, I feel, I eat, I do
Right.
things,
Right.
and it's a total lifestyle change.
So what changes, of course, you got better, you healed, but what other changes did you experience after changing your diet? I mean, slowly going from increasing raw to then
Yes.
really shifting to whole food, plant-based. How did it, I mean, what
So
was
it,
the
it so it really helped me. I went, like, it was increasing it slowly, going on total raw. At one time, I was actually on total raw,
Mhm.
and it took some time for me to reach there. But I managed within 2, 3 of my, because I had to continue with the chemo, because I had no clue what it was.
What,
My
right,
CA 125 was still high, and but I started feeling much better. My blood counts were getting normal, and I was not getting all those. What my doctor said, you'll get infection, the chemo would get affected if you eat raw, and such things never happened. I never had my fever. I never had constipation. And
right.
on the contrary, I felt I don't need any further treatment. I'm simply taking something in my
Oh,
body,
oh,
and
wow,
like
is it outstanding?
I
Yeah.
was feeling like, after even during the chemo, I used to feel tired, but it
Huh.
was not that I could get up the next day and walk up to my car, take the lift, come down the hospital.
Right, right.
And it was, so I could see the change, like what it was in my first cycle, what and all I went through in the
Right.
second
Yeah,
time.
because you kind of saw both
Both.
aspects,
So
right?
I said, yes, this is much better. And I said, then I started reading more and more,
Right.
understanding more, and how the whole, I mean, I understood about food, eating the right way. I took trouble to, attend workshops, attend sessions,
Right.
and, hearing Nandita so many times. I mean, she would say the same thing, and I would still, somewhere I had this huge doubt that
Of course.
can
Yeah.
cancer heal with just this plant-based food.
Right. Because, the
So
whole world is saying something different.
yes,
This
that's what.
small, select group of people, of course, that group is growing now, I'm sure, from the
Yes,
time
true.
you both started. It's definitely growing and growing. So I can imagine that it must have been so,
It was very difficult, Reena, because
of course.
people put you on all those fears. My own doctor told me, I've never heard anybody. I tell my patients to drink milk, I don't know what you're doing. But then he would see me definitely better than all the patients who he's treating.
Right.
So
Right.
he told me one day, you do whatever you're doing, as long as you're fine, I am all right.
Happy, right. I remember once, Jayashree, you saying, I'm anyway going to die, so might as well have
Yes,
food.
true.
I
My
remember.
first thing of eating that was that. I said, I was really rock bottom. I was really sick. So I
Second.
said, okay, if I'm going to eat this and survive, fine. If I'm going to eat this, let me die.
Yeah.
So, but then I really felt the green juices really helped me. Like, I didn't know that you could put a banana and eat then and make it tasty. So I would
Right.
make the juice and I would remove a little bit of the fiber and make it, valuable for me to drink.
Correct. Right.
And I took all the trouble. I
Yeah.
did take all the trouble.
Maybe at that
So,
time it was a trouble, but now I think it feels like a blessing,
no,
isn't
that time, of course, to getting it all that done, and
it?
because you don't give it to your helpers because you're scared where they won't wash the greens well. So
Right.
you try
So
to
you
do
were
it
going to, right,
yourself.
right, correct.
And
Okay.
and my kids were all in college and they were all in school.
Yeah.
My daughter was in school,
Right.
and you really cannot. And they see mother sick and lying in bed, it disturbs the
Of
entire
course.
house.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. Right.
So
So, Upasana, tell me, you were somebody who loved food and loved variety and, actually chose countries where you could get the food, and suddenly you are eating what probably everybody thinks is like boring and, like ghas poos and, that kind of food. So, is it? I mean, of course, it was a reason why you went for it, but did you start enjoying it, or is this food really that delicious? I mean, in
Yeah.
comparison.
Yeah. So just to clarify, like when I had that lump taken off, because there was a little mm, piece of information which I missed. So when I had that lump taken off, that was the stage 0 cancer lump that was taken off. But I still had some more lumps in the breast. So
Okay.
the doctor said nothing. It's not dangerous. It's not cancerous, right? So it's not malignant. So that's why I was asked to take that tamoxifen, right? So
Oh. Hmm.
when I made the shift, it really felt easy. Like my friends told me that, what are you going to cook? Because you only know how to make like good non-vegetarian food. So now what are you going to cook? Because
Huh.
I
Huh.
had a lot of friends who lived around, me. So I said, we'll manage. So what I did, and I think to a large extent, what I still do is whatever I used to cook, whether it was a chicken curry or any non-vegetarian dish, I just started putting vegetables in it.
Huh. The gravy is same.
The gravy is the same. And
Right.
I just use the same masala or the same gravy
Right.
base or whatever. Instead
Right.
of making a steak, I started cauliflower steak. And
Right.
I started, because I like cooking. This
Huh.
was so challenging. And also, there was a little bit like, I want to impress my friends that I can do this too.
True.
And
Right.
I can make this. And they were all meat eaters too, right? So, of course, I was getting are you crazy? You should continue eating everything and all of that. So I felt a little bit like I wanted to, show them or prove that it can be, or I can make it. And. So
Yeah.
I started getting very innovative with food, and
Right.
it became such a like a moment to look forward for me
Right.
to get up and make that new thing. And
Right.
that's when I feel my sense of or my joy of cooking kind of came alive. Like I started enjoying it really at that point.
Lovely. Lovely. And the food is delicious.
The food is delicious.
Delicious. Absolutely. And because your body is so grateful and feels so good, that makes it even more delicious, isn't it?
So true, so true.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had the blessing of all these recipes put together, like Sharan recipes, which you can see in the chat now.
Yeah.
And you go to Forks Over Knives recipes or
Yeah.
whatever. There's so many
Yeah. There is
recipes
so
out
much.
there.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
So
if
the
you
thing
look,
of
you
it
will
all,
find.
right. Yeah. Yeah. It's just to look, as you rightly said. But even eating out is not so much of an issue, isn't it?
And I would love to share about that a little bit. So I would be in different countries,
Right.
and I would go to places like China, and I can't tell you how easy it was to be not just vegan, but whole food, plant-based. Because I realized in China, they put all the oil and all of that in all the meat dishes. So then, I just had to ask for vegetables and, rice or brown rice. They have something called black rice, which we also start using now, right? So they call it the forbidden rice. So they have that, and it was quite easily available, like steamed broccoli and rice. And wherever I went, I could even go to steak restaurants with friends or with my team when I went and ask for the sides. And I would have, and at that point, I see that now it's such a good thing to ask, because you won't know what people can do, like eating outside, what the restaurant can do for you.
Absolutely.
Or wherever you go, they can go to, people can really go out of their way to help you out and to create a meal for you. And not to feel embarrassed to say, hey, can I have the potatoes from this dish? And can I have this from this dish? Can you make a dish for me? So it's can go a long way if you can ask for what you want.
Yeah. So not missing anything, actually.
Not at all.
Not at all. Wow, that's wonderful. So, especially from somebody like you who's traveling and everything, because that's always one of our concerns. And you're right. You just ask, seek, and you shall find. So, okay, till we have Jayashree come back, I wanted to ask you, you were talking about every level there was a change. Okay. So let's talk about physical. You said your energy levels, your health issues just evaporated. But did you go for a checkup again? Did you see that what happened to your lumps, and like, did you get that? Yeah.
So about 6 months after that change, I mean, I had to get another checkup done. So I went in, and so I went to another place to get the ultrasound, because last time it was in that hospital in Qatar. And so this time they said no lumps, there's nothing.
And how long was this after you changed your diet?
So about 6 months or
6 months.
Yeah.
Wow, that's outstanding. I mean, that is the power of nature's food. Yeah. 6 months, and those lumps.
And nothing. There was no other lump, and I felt better than ever before. I had found, so much purpose.
Of course. Oh, wow. Beautiful. So basically it was cemented. The journey was cemented, I'm sure, after that. And what about, okay, so physical we have covered. What about your mental level? How did you find a change at that? Because flying can be so stressful. It involves different timings, meeting different challenges. Did you see a difference there?
One for sure, I was very short-tempered. That just went away.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if it went away completely, but I saw a huge drop in that. And just generally, like there was, so talking about the mind, I mean, there was so much clarity. For the first time. I felt so clear about what I, want to, do. And just generally, I was so clear about what I'm doing. It wasn't just, until then, you're eating anything, doing everything. Now, all my activities started revolving around health, for something that I never thought about.
Right. So you became more mindful, let's say that.
Very mindful. Everything started revolving around healing and health, and just understanding that it's just the journey. Like this is it. This is the new me, buying new clothes, which said vegan. I still have that very first t-shirt. It said new habits, new me. And, waking up earlier, drinking more water, being mindful about just everything, starting to get into like, breathing exercises, things like that. Like things that I wouldn't do.
Affirmations and gratitude.
Yeah, gratitude. All of that, and so much of it just started. I mean, that I felt a little later, come in much later. The whole affirmations and gratitude took me maybe a year or 2 years to kind of really like get into that aspect. But this was more physical for the first 1 year. I started doing things for a lot of coffee. a lot of black coffee because I just had to stay awake in the night through the flights, and
Right.
that kind of gave me that thing to stay up anytime and be on
Yeah.
this erratic schedule.
Yeah.
That
Right.
went off like somehow. I felt like every bad habit started getting kicked off.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So
And
that much is the power of the food that we're consuming.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah, I totally resonate with what you're saying because I've kind of gone through all this, but it's amazing. It's just with that we're talking that, you kind of realize, oh yeah,
yeah.
it's powerful. It's so powerful.
And I
And
felt one habit kind of attracts the other. So when you're just doing things like, maybe you'll start with just smoothie,
yeah,
then you want to start with, okay, let me just add salads, let me
correct,
just, you
correct.
just want to keep doing things, and you start seeing the results, you feel better, you feel energetic,
Yeah, yeah,
and then you start talking to your body,
yeah.
and your body will tell you when you go out and eat french fries. I mean, not to say that's bad, but your body will tell you, I didn't
Yes,
like that very much.
yes, absolutely. You kind of reconnect. I think we got disconnected now because there were
Yeah.
so many other things that were attracting us. And actually, the body has always been trying to speak to us. Like
So
in your case, through the constipation or through the bronchitis, was trying to communicate, but we were just too busy. I mean, we just not listening, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. And then, so you felt the physical change, you felt the mental state change, and you said you found your purpose. I mean, and that's what spirituality is about, finding your purpose and living that life that probably you've been here for. And what was the purpose? How did that come about?
yeah. I mean, you don't really just wake up and say, oh, I have my purpose. It's just a slow, gradual thing that goes on, right? So as everyone who gets into whole food, plant based, so just generally this healing naturally through this way,
Mm.
you start sharing it with your friends and family, and suddenly that's the first thing you want everyone around you to make that change just like you did.
Mm.
And you literally go on top of the mountains and start shouting and trying to get everybody to do this. So
Correct.
that's something, of course, I did very much.
Huh.
I really pushed my parents to switch, and they did. And that was really nice, because I do see a lot of people with a lot of resistance. Yes, there was resistance,
Of course.
but not so much. And then they shifted, and my mom, who had thyroid for so long, that started reversing and started getting better. They went off their both of them went off their cholesterol medicines. And I saw a huge change in my mom's personality too. Like, she became so confident, and like you speak about you and your daughter, we started sharing clothes too.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Right.
and,
Okay.
and I think my mom's here somewhere, so in the group.
Oh,
So
we'd
yeah.
love to meet her as well in a bit
Mm,
after we finish.
yeah.
So, okay. So then how did your career change?
Yeah, so that's what started happening. I started telling people, you start with family, you start with yourself, then you go to your closest people, you go to your family, you see the change in them, and then you realize this is not just one-off thing, it's real. And then you read all these million books, and there are so many people. The more you like I so resonate with what Jayashree said. Dr. Nandita may have said the same things, but I couldn't stop listening to her. I
Right.
had to just keep listening to her over and over again. And, just listening to that gave me so much joy. And reading about it, and start reading all the plant-based books, and, so many plant-based doctors around the world, started reading about that. And uh, it was a wonderful, experience. And I started sharing it with my friends. And soon I realized that's all I could talk about. Uh,
Okay.
and I think I'm still there. That's all I can talk about.
Talk about, yeah. It kind
Uh,
of becomes your life,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay.
And then, I was enjoying the flying, and, I said, listen, now I need to study this, because I want to share it with more people. So I did the Cornell course, with plant-based course. Then I did, then I said, okay, now I need to share this. I need to teach this, coach this through. So I did uh, the IIN course for teaching, which is Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York, which was about health coaching. And it taught me so much about how I can, communicate with people, work with a client as a coach, just don't go about telling people stop eating meat, dairy, oil, sugar. That's not the way to do it. So initially I started doing that. Don't eat this, don't eat that. That doesn't work. So, I learned how to share this. I started studying, doing a lot of things. I got into learning functional nutrition, understanding how the body functions. So just got really, I never studied in school. I didn't like to study. I was always, just get your 50s and 60s and I'm happy with it. But now I felt like I was glued to books and started reading, and it was my thing. That's all. I looked forward to this.
You were loving it, right?
Loving it. And slowly, the flying didn't seem so like, it was just a job. And it wasn't exciting. And I went to a new place. I didn't go out at all when I was in that new place. I was just in reading and studying and doing all of that. And I approached my airline. I said, I'd like to start a nutrition program for the crew, because I am crew. And I think, we should all become a little more aware of how to be healthy. I didn't throw the whole plant-based thing at them. That wasn't received well as well. So I just wanted to speak about just nutrition. And I did that. I did some, workshops for the crew and some videos and things like that, which they could share. And that wasn't enough. And, I wanted to do more. At some point in between, I came and did a facilitator's course with you in, Sharan. And that was beautiful and gave me so much more insight. And just spending time with you and Dr. Nandita and the entire group and Jayashree and everybody there was such a beautiful feeling. So at that point, I had realized I need to move to, I think I remember telling you, like, I'm going to quit flying.
I remember you telling me.
I don't know how I'll do it, but I'll just do it. And very soon that time came and I quit flying and I continued. So it was the pandemic. It was the beginning of the pandemic when I started doing courses online. And all I wanted to do is just share the knowledge. I just wanted to tell people that this is what it is. This is my story. This is how it helped me. It helped my friends, my family. And this is the way you can go about doing it. So I used to have like 6-7 days, a week-long course. And it was just free for everybody on Zoom, come, and people like this would come and I would share like things to do. And I saw some magic happen. There were people who reversed and went down. Their diabetes tablets went down. They started feeling better. They started, walking again. There was a lot of like fun things that happened, miraculous things. I knew that would happen, but they didn't. Right. So they started sharing that and people started approaching me and saying, can you coach me? Can you? And one thing led to another. One client became more and more and more. And I had the ability to leave flying, come here. I started coaching and then I've set up a whole food plant-based wellness center now in Bangalore just 6 weeks ago.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Tell us about the center. It sounds so exciting. And I think you have a cafe there as well.
Yes.
And coming from somebody who loves cooking, I'm sure it's going to be yum. The food. Tell us about this cafe and what do you do at the center?
Right. So through my journey of coaching, I realized that there were a lot of things that, though I had amazing mentors like Dr. Nandita and, all these plant-based doctors who helped a lot, I felt like I could also be one of those people who want to have a hand holding through their transition. So that's something that that's what I do in my coaching now. So if somebody is diagnosed and they want to go through the natural plant-based, lifestyle, I handhold them through that journey. And we do see a lot of people with so many, wonderful, so I started, just coaching people, hand-holding them. They have, people have questions. So can I do this? Am I allowed to do that? How do I do? I'm sure you do it too. So, the kind of fears people feel when they are shifting a lifestyle. My whole career now is to make it very seamless and for somebody who wants to make that shift. And so Natureville is to look after that. So people said, I don't know how to cook this. So we have cooking courses and we are planning to start a cooking, a school kind of a thing where we teach whole food, plant-based to oil, oil free and all of that to home cooks, to people who want to make that change.
Wow.
We did a couple of workshops so far. We've just been 6 weeks, so yeah.
Of course.
That's one thing. There's another thing where I see with clients is I don't want to cook this, I work, I don't have time, so we do subscription. We send the food to them.
Okay.
Then we have people who say, oh, I don't have choices to eat outside, so we have a cafe, of course, so people can come and eat and host their events, and so it's a physical space, so you can have your
So kind of
event.
making a community, like building a community. Our whole idea is that, it's so easy and simple to be healthy. And so delicious to be healthy. Really, 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 you don't miss out on anything. In fact, you only gain. So we want this to spread. So if you know anybody in Bangalore, let them know. We don't have to wait for, acidity or diabetes or cancer to come. This is actually the best health insurance ever. So, and the time has come that we need to really wake up and pull our socks, because just one visit to the hospital and you realize, oh my God, this is the last place on the planet that I want to go to. So better, I rather take care of myself, and really, really, you're not missing out on anything. Isn't it, Upasana?
So true. So true.
Right.
There's only to gain, and it's such a rewarding experience. And when you feel better and when your loved ones feel better, I think there's no more there's no greater feeling than that, for sure.
Of course. But I just want to end with this one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we all have cancer cells in our body, and they just need the environment for it to grow, and wrong diet and wrong thoughts create that environment, and that's how it comes forth. So we have to be careful, irrespective of whether we have it in our family or not, because giving acidic foods make the cancer cells thrive, right? Okay, so let's take care, and let's really, really ensure that we build a culture of health and live happy and beautiful lives always. Okay, thank you, Upasana, so much for joining us today. And I hope you can inspire and, help many, many.